Morning, everybody. Thought I'd do a quick video. It's been a week or so. I I thought I had that turned down, but yeah, it's been a week, hadn't it? I didn't know when or if I was even going to do another video. Only reason I ever started doing any videos was because I guess the best way to put it is I needed an outlet for just thoughts and processes. And Alan, when I met him, that helped, that he brought me on live streams. I think the first day we met and talked, we did a live stream. He just, you want to go live? We can go live right now. So, but no, I'm not gonna quit. No, I'm not gonna comply. I understand they're really starting to clamp down on anybody making any assessments or judgments about the jab. Alan's channel should be back up in another couple of days. I don't know, but the whole thing that went down there, that was discouraging, man. That was real discouraging. I didn't expect people to react that way. I was really disappointed and discouraged. No matter who or what or how it went down, just wasn't good. I didn't like that. I didn't like it at all. I hope in the future, if anybody's got a problem with me, they'll approach me. They won't start this whole campaign. I don't understand it. Not much brotherly love going on anymore. It's really, really discouraging. I usually have a positive attitude about everything. But man, hey, what's up, Joel? Well, I went to bed, Joel, last night at about 8:30. That's why I'm up. I've had almost 8 hours of sleep. I'm good. I'm done. And you ain't even gone to bed yet, huh? That's not good, Joel. I mean, you gotta get your sleep, son. You gotta get your sleep. But yeah, I'm getting lots of sleep. That's one of the, I guess, quirks about me is my whole life, man. No matter what, really, about 7.5, 8 hours of sleep. Boom, my eyes open. I'm up. I can't stay in bed. I can't just stay there. I gotta get up. Once I'm awake, I get up and I get moving. We here in Orange, where the wife is interviewing other places, and the last place she went and interviewed, y'all need to do a little research on it yourselves. The town of Mineral Wells, Texas. Pretty interesting. I lived out in West Texas. 3 or 4 hours from Mineral Wells my whole life, and nobody ever really made any big deal about it. No big deal about its water or its history or anything. Well, I found out, man, they got a mud flood building there. They got one of those supposed hotels, and it's just too much. is just too much for the area and for the residents and for their abilities, their needs. Another one of those deals. So I'm going to be looking into mineral wells a little more, see what we can find out there. We know the chief out there, mineral wells, like a water well, mineral wells, flame, and they got like 3 or 4 different levels of water. The CEO my wife interviewed with is telling us about it. He's like, don't drink a number 4 unless you purposely want to clean yourself out. Don't drink a number 4. He says, I drink a number 3 every day, and it sure makes me feel better. And that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting looking into that. We had such a quick trip out. I wanted to go look at the hotel, the Baker Hotel. Man, one of those deals where you just go, what? Kind of weird. Right out there in the middle of nowhere, bam, all of a sudden. And what's crazy is this thing is in this hotel there in Mineral Wells, and it's an hour, maybe 50, 60 miles, if that far, to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. No buildings like that over there. It's over in Mineral Wells. It ain't over in Dallas-Fort Worth area. It's a beast of a hotel. Man, it sure dominates the landscape. And it's funny out there in that area. It's still a little rolling hill country type stuff, and you don't see it. You don't see the hotel until you get over the right hill, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, what's that doing sitting up there? It looks strange. It looks really strange. But yeah, we're looking at that. Looking at a lot of stuff. My parents went and visited them last week. My dad's slowly slipping in, to dementia. He's losing that memory, and when you're away from someone, for a time, and then you go back, you can really see those changes. And last time, back in June, before we left out here, I went and saw him about every 2 weeks. Yeah, he's not doing good. He's slipping. Tell my brother, I'm afraid he didn't need to be driving at night, especially anymore, and got to be limited to his day trips. It's sad when you have a parent like that, and you have to watch him slowly deteriorate. And I can tell by the look in his eyes, it's frustrating. It's frustrating for him, and he has little patience, man. I'm just afraid it's gonna go rough for him. Hey, Lee, what's up? It's gonna go rough for him. He's gonna be one of those people that's combative. He's not gonna like it. And there's, y'all pray for him. Pray for him, and let's just hope he he has a peaceful transition, and that it's not an angry, combative transition. They've started him on some medications. Of course, those medications and their side effects, he's lethargic and stopping up his digestive system. It's not good. They don't do a very good job of taking care of patients and telling them, okay, on this medication, you need to change your diet, or you're going to be constipated, or this is going to happen. They don't do that. They just say, here, take this pill. Then the poor patient gets constipated like that, and they don't know what's going on. They've been eating their normal foods, and it's just a mess. just a mess. So, some prayers for mom and dad. Hopefully we're going to get out there closer to them. We don't want to move this quick, but yeah, do what you got to do. I want to get out of this place. I don't like the vibe down here. My dad is 72, Lee. He's 72. He'll be 73 this coming March. And we otherwise he's got no physical ailments whatsoever. Guy is just healthy as a horse. They never been in the hospital, ever been sick much ever in his life that I could ever remember. Cold now and then. And he worked his whole life. Still does. They and I think they did it on purpose. My parents put in a swimming pool about 3 years after we left home. That must be how old you are, Lee. But yes, they put in a swimming pool. Now, 25, 30 years later, he's sick of taking care of that swimming pool. My mom, she's grumpy old fart. She'd look out the patio and see leaves in the pool, and she'd tell him, "You need to go clean that pool." Like he doesn't know there's going to be leaves in the pool. Oh, those two go at it over that crap. Oh, he gets so upset with her. She doesn't even use the pool, but she wants it clean every day. She wants that sucker ready for entertaining. And back in the day when all the grandkids, there's a point where, they had 6 grandkids in the same town going at it. So the pool was great, right? Now, they're all grown and get very few visitors, like that anymore. And, it's tough on him. He's trying to keep it up. But just prayer for my parents, everybody's parents, everybody's going through something with their parents as they get older. Hopefully it's not too bad. My brother finally picked up the ball and is doing some hands-on with him. Went to a doctor's appointment with him. Made sure he understood what was going on from the doctor, not from my dad or my mom. You know how parents relay information like that, especially when they got dementia. But other than that, the videos I do, I'm not gonna dive into any deep biblical lessons. I'm not gonna go into much political, but I sure do hope that as a community we can get this back on track and get back to the work, of revealing the Lord in our times to people. Yesterday, Alan and I were talking and watching a few videos, and almost everything I'm watching these days, especially when it comes to reset timelines, all this stuff, it seems like every single person here in this town, it's just a bad vibe in this town. I don't like it. It's really, and it rains a lot, right? So I'm used to sunshine, but it rains a lot. And there's a pulp mill for paper, pulp mill. And oh man, it smells around here. Boy, some days, you walk outside, it's hard. It's tough. It's tough. It stinks. It stinks bad. And the vibes is not great around here. It really isn't. Wasn't when we first got here. Didn't like it. But talking about my videos and what I do. I just watching these videos over the last week or so, or month actually, I keep seeing this reoccurring thing. These people, whether they're talking about Black Hebrew roots or they're talking about chakras and New Age meditations and all these things. It really doesn't have a boundary that all these philosophies, all these ideologies people have. You sit there and you listen to them, and they all are describing post-millennial reign. Almost all of them. They talk about destruction of things. They talk about change of things. They talk about how they talk about how these things have changed and how what we're looking at here and the biblical and the historical record. But in the end, they always end up describing an end event, a reset, and then now look at it. Now look what's happened. And to me, almost every one of them are describing the devil loosed. The devil is loosed. You describe all this historical stuff happen, and then boom, all of a sudden, whether it be oil, pharmaceutical, whether it be wars or whatever angle they're coming at you. It's all when you put it in frame, it's all just describing the end times of the devil loosed, because nothing else explains it. When they sit there and line out their arguments, it's like, okay, say it, just say it. The devil has been loosed. It has to be. Nothing else describes it. And watching that a Flat Plane 13 still about the red mercury. That was crazy. Thanks, Lee. I'm trying to, bud. I got my dogs. I got my family. I'm good. It's just discouraging. You know how it gets. But yeah, man. Y'all Supreme Court is gonna talk about how bad they're treating y'all lately. Good luck with that, Ella. Good luck with that. If y'all hadn't seen that, I think Alan mirrored it. Might have. There's a good video by that guy, Flat Plane 13, talking about red mercury, and that is so cool. Oh my God, that makes so much sense. Well, Ella, that's one of those things. It seems like Australia's kind of got got earplugs and blinders in, that they're just from our side. What we're seeing is that, hey, we're doing what we have to do to keep Australians safe. And I mean, that's their punchline. We're doing what we have to do to keep Australians safe. And I don't know if they're gonna kind of conform to the Warsaw Pact and the United Nations, please. And is the United Nations really going to tell them to stop? You're being mean. I don't know. We'll see, Alec. Good luck, babe. That's got to be brutal over there. I mean, wow. To know somebody that's in the middle of that. We pray for you, Ella. That's got to be just, if you want. That's a good idea. I'm glad you said that, Ella. I'm glad you said that. Here, let's do I'm going to put the link in here, Ella. Come on and give us a quick update of what's going on over there in the land down under. Give us a quick update of day-to-days. Are they keeping y'all from doing your... Come on, Ella. There's your link. Are they keeping y'all within the 3-5 kilometers of your home? Or are you having to show your papers? Are you having to... Did you put the star on? Could they have picked a worse lady to tell you guys all the bad news? Oh, the one there in Australia? That old gal. She's pretty rough, huh? Oh, sure, Al. Sure, take your time. Take your time. But yeah, the old horse face gal. And they have doing those news conferences in Australia. But she's straight up with it, man. She said, you know, Australians, not gonna go back to normal, man. Ain't gonna be no normal. You guys keep talking this normal. We're not going back there. Oh gosh, oh, I gotta tell you about this decode I ran across accidentally. Had some quarters, some change in my wife's car, and well, I'm waiting on her last week, and I'm just rummaging through this change, looking at dates and stuff, and I ran across one that is a 2019 issue, and the theme on it is national parks, and the theme of the national park on that coin was River to Nowhere. Think about that, River to Nowhere in 2019. 2020 is national parks again, and it has on it two bats. Has two bats. Remember, Bat Lady, Wuhan, all that. It has two bats on it for 2020, and then the 2021 coin they put out was celebrating the Tuskegee Airmen. And when I saw those three coins, 2019, A River to Nowhere, 2020, celebrating these bats, 2021, the Tuskegee Airmen. Are you trying to tell us something? Are you trying to tell us something? I mean, their symbolism is everywhere. It's just crazy. I was like, there's no way 3 years in a row they set this up like that. Really? That's out there. Yeah, it was just crazy how, they're sending those messages in so many ways. Because I don't know about y'all, but historically, I can't remember anything about historically a river to nowhere as far as the American history goes. And then the bats on the coin, really? I don't know, Lee. I think it's a historical thing. It's just on the coin, and all it says is, around the edge it says national parks, and then the picture is a boat in the middle of a river saying the river to nowhere. I don't know. That's what I was just saying. Historically, I haven't heard anything about that. And then as far as national parks and stuff, the most famous one I know of, Bat Caves. It's not really a bat cave. It's a bridge in Austin, Texas, where every day you can go down there and these bats are under this bridge, and at sunset, just at sunset, boom, they all take off and head back to the cave. So I don't know why they put out a coin celebrating national parks with bats. With bats. I mean, we have lots of national parks, and for 2020 to put bats on a coin, kind of weird. And then 2021 to put the Tuskegee Airmen. Everybody knows it was one of the biggest, human experiments up to that point in history. It's just weird. All right, so I'm gonna do a little more research on that, Lee. It just had hit me. I told my wife, don't throw these coins away. I want to keep these coins so I can look at this stuff. I hope they're still in her car. I didn't get them, but oh, excuse me. But we as Christians, when we go through stuff, it's hard. It's hard to stay positive. You got the message and you understand, but then you see people you care about, you see people you trust, acting unchristian. in my view anyway. And I didn't like getting pulled in the middle of all that. That was weird. But I appreciate anybody that has subscribed to my channel, has watched my videos and listened to my BS, because I know I ain't real intelligent. I keep on changing the name of places. Every map is different. Names for towns, roads, etc. Like every 40 years or so. It seems like it, if they, for whatever reason, John Levy, he has a bunch of good videos, and they're certainly not telling us the whole story, are they? And it's worldwide. It's not just here in the U.S. for us, or just in Australia for Elle, or just in, I believe you're in South Africa, right, Lee? Somewhere around there. They're not just doing it in some places; they're doing it everywhere. And when I was home, my parents had a a family history deal done several years back in the 80s. There's Ella, back in the 80s. Good morning, young lady. How are you?
Oh, we just had some beautiful storms come through.
Oh yeah,
really nice.
Yeah, we've got
the whole East Coast is currently getting hit with severe thunderstorms. It's probably their last chance to flood the mice out, because there's still a mouse problem.
Right.
And we've had it's gone back into the really cold nights again, and it's like we're 15 sort of 14 degree nights. We don't usually have that at this time of year.
Right.
But weird temperatures. We're up to like 30 degrees in the day, and then it's back, a couple of days later, we're back to cold days, and weather is really weird. But we're almost like, if we didn't have the football grand final on this weekend here in Brisbane, we would be in a lockdown. The only reason they haven't done it is the grand final, and it's just ridiculous what they're doing. The police have got a 2-week stay on their mandatory vaccinations. The health department, I think they had theirs yesterday, and the nurses are just saying they're going to quit. So the police have got a mass thing going on at the moment where they're recruiting.
Right.
They're basically recruiting anyone with any sort of military knowledge, is basically what the job advertisement says, which is kind of scary.
Sure. Right. If you know how to handle a weapon, we need you.
Yep, that's what they're basically saying. Yep. So it's not good. We're back to they've got the grand final on with 60,000 people going, but you can't have a funeral with more than 10 people going. You can't attend a function with more than 30 people. You have to wear a mask everywhere you go, apart from eating and everything else. It's just there's just double standards. And then also at the moment, I shared it on my community tab. The New South Wales Supreme Court is currently in session with the Health Minister, the Premier, and the Deputy Premier through corruption, as well as the way people are being treated. So the people in the western suburbs of Sydney, where all the immigrants are, they're on full-on hard lockdown, police arresting them and everything. Whereas on the east side of Sydney, they can go into the beach and do everything. They don't have the police presence like they do. So there's a lot of double standards going on at the moment.
Right.
And the people have no trust in the media, and the people have made that quite clear in the last few weeks with the protests. I don't know if you heard about it, but the major news network, Channel 9 and Channel 7, were ordered out of Melbourne airspace the other day, and they've classed Melbourne as a no-fly zone, which means you can't even fly drones. If you fly a drone, you will get arrested.
Wow.
Because of the castle laws. So, you can't even put your drone up in Melbourne at the moment. The media, they got blacked out, and they had a little van driving around, and it was blocking Facebook Live and YouTube. It was blocking all of that. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes at the moment. People don't think that, there is stuff going on, that they're not sitting and all that kind of stuff, but they are. Craig Kelly tried pushing the bill through for no vaccine passport, and I think that's gone through. I'm not quite sure. I've been watching that one, so I've been spending all day watching court hearings and researching legal stuff. So
wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and if we don't know the Constitution and if we don't know our rights, we're going to lose everything. And my granddads and uncles and all my family, they didn't fight in the war for this. I can tell you that. They would be turning in their graves.
Well, it's from what we see, what little we get about Australia is y'all are doing the right things.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
that the Australian government is really doing everything needed to keep y'all safe. And as well as I do, what little real information gets out from somebody videoing at a protest or anything, like you said, they're blocking everything.
Yep.
It's almost like it's really almost like nothing's going on in Australia.
yeah, yeah. And
It's-
sorry to
it's-
interrupt, but the people only reacted right when they saw that elderly woman getting knocked down. That's when most of the
right,
builders and all that turned around and said, well, hey, they're doing that to that lady, they're going to do it to us next. If they're going to assault an elderly woman, they're going to assault us next. And that's what they said, all these builders and tradies. They said, well, how can we sit back and watch this?
right, right. And I don't know if they're using Australia as the big beta test or what.
Yeah, we're the testing ground. So what's happening in Australia, I'm sorry to say, expect it happening in your country. Warsaw actually had a big protest outside of the Australian embassy in Poland the other day, and no one knows about that one either.
Right, right.
It's all been Yep, people don't know about it. And I said to Mum, did you know about this? About what they're calling on is the European Union to put trade sanctions on Australia.
Yeah.
So it looks like that's what's going to happen. The Prime Minister's been told to reel the premiers in. And everyone bitches about the Queensland Premier, my state, but I actually think she's doing an okay job, with what's going on. I think she's doing the best she can.
So how are y'all's prices and availability of everyday needs?
That's the next thing. People don't realize with all these lockdowns, right? All these people that would normally be working in factories and all that, they're not working at the moment. I think it's like 25% capacity of what they would normally do. So we've had that for 18 months at 25-30% capacity of what they would do. We do have food stored, but we're almost at the stage where that food's running out. I don't think they could put the oil and the gas on us because we have an unlimited amount of oil and gas in Australia. I don't think they could use that against us. But fuel prices were really high. They were like $1.87 a week ago, just for a litre of fuel.
Wow, that's that's crazy. $1.07 a liter. That's crazy. What is that?
Yeah.
That's $4 and something a gallon.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, your imperial gallon's a bit bigger than the litre.
Yeah. It's
about $4.80 a litre, roughly.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yep. So yeah, I'm noticing food. We had dog food missing off the shelves before all this happened. We're noticing like little things are starting to get short supply. But I mean, the next 2 weeks is going to be really interesting to see what happens with these corruption hearings and these other hearings with the Supreme Court. There's an officer that's in Melbourne. He's being suspended at the moment. He walked up to a bloke at the Flinders Street train station from behind and threw his head into the ground, just slammed him. There is just so much abuse going on with people. It's ridiculous.
Well, here in the U.S., just my friend Randy up there in Wisconsin, he works for Del Monte at a cannery.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they can green beans. Well, they were told a couple of weeks ago that they're going to be mandated, on the jab. And so him and his wife have been discussing it. And I think they had a couple of weeks here to decide whether to take their early retirement or get the jab. Mm-hmm. And if you think about it, if like a cannery like that, if 20% of those people say, no, I'm not going to take it, I'll take my retirement. And they take that money off the shelf and 20% of their people are gone. How long is it going to take before these canneries, these manufacturers start shutting down? Because they don't have no people, number one. I mean, this is almost working out.
And the other problem people don't realize is you can go and have a look now on the internet. You go and have a look at the ship trackers. where all the ships are, and they're sitting at the ports. You look at LA, and there is
Right.
heaps of ships just sitting out there trying to get load. There's no one there to unload all the containers.
Unload. Right.
So you've
Right.
got heaps of ships sitting out by the ports waiting to be unloaded, and then you've got all this other product there waiting to be loaded to be sent out, and nothing can move. You know.
Right.
They
Well,
haven't got the manpower.
I had a guy come by yesterday to give me a price on a generator for this house. And I said, well, first thing, you know, when can I expect delivery? When would be the earliest you think I could get this put in? He said,
Yeah.
well, March.
Really?
March. Yep.
Wow.
He said March, maybe by the end of March. He said, if you want this brand, it's
Wow.
definitely going to be into March, but this brand, maybe before the end of March. And I'm like, wow, he said he's got 20 plus customers lined up waiting. You know, at 10 grand a pop, he's got, you know, that many people lined up. Wow. Hey, Glyph, what's up? I mean, right, and that's just generators. And not that many people can afford generators, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, there's only a few places in the country that really need one. You know, you just do. There's places you just, if you can get it, you need one. And this is one of those areas. And it's just, wow. You know, what do you do with that? There's not, you're just dead in the water. You want something, you have the money to buy it, you want to do it, you can't. And it's just going to get cold.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in that position to do it, you know, you're lucky, but there are a lot of people that aren't in that position,
Yeah,
you know, that are able to do it.
Yeah, and I was at a grocery store a couple weeks back when that hurricane was coming through. And the people in line, I said something about the generator, and the lady said, oh, I got lucky. I got one. You know, I got one, and my brother got one, and we have 3 houses right here together, and we were able to share those. We're able to run a cord. Well, she wasn't talking about a freestanding attached to the grid, attached to your meter base generator. She's talking about go out and pull the handle, add gas to it generator.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. So they were just thankful to have a $400 generator, a couple of them to share amongst 3 homes. You know, and all those things are going to do is keep your fridges running, basically. Maybe charge your phones or something.
Yeah.
I'm talking about one that's going to run the whole house pretty much when the power goes out. So that's, you know, I think they're just glad to have a little one. I'm thinking run the whole house. So it's tough. Think of all the people that don't even have the little, you know, gas power.
Yeah.
A
lot of people don't even have that, you know.
Yeah, and we're getting lots of rain here. It's supposed to rain all week. Yesterday and the day before, man, we had some heck of a storms. It was dumping hard.
Yeah, well, we haven't had rain like we've got now for a long time either, and it's just conveniently falling right over the main dams. It's just amazing how the storms are going directly over the dams where the water needs to go. It's just amazing.
Right, and y'all are in spring right now, right?
Yes, correct. Yep.
We're in spring.
Yes. Coming into our storm season. Yep.
Oh, have you seen the video where the girl uses all the latitudes and longitudes and uses all the data from old ship log there in Australia and does all the coordinates and figures out pretty much that Australia is twice as big as they say it is.
Oh yeah, it's much bigger because I've driven trucks all over Australia, and I can tell you it is much bigger than it looks on the map. And when you go, you know, hours upon hours, you go 12, 14 hours of just completely straight roads, nothing in between. You actually see how big the country is. It's massive.
Right. When I saw that, I was like, oh my God, that's too easy. And so many people won't look at that and go, well, that does make sense when you can do the math. You know, we know their latitude and their longitude. We know.
Yeah. See, I don't even believe it's the shape it is. I think it's a totally different shape to what it is as well.
Like, oh, yeah. The boundaries may be totally off of what they claim for sure.
Yeah.
That
Because my son pointed it out when he was 5-year-old. He said, Mum, look at this. He said, if you tilt Australia around and flip it, he said it's exactly the same as South Africa. And he's right. Australia is pretty much the exact same design shape as South Africa. And he noticed that at 6-year-old.
right. Yeah, it's weird. The more we learn, right? But the deal that one guy put out about red mercury, that's interesting. If you haven't seen that.
Yes,
wow.
I know about red mercury. That's why it was banned by the World Health Organization in 2015.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know, but in Vietnam, the US government gave the soldier these new night vision goggles, and they had the red and green lens, and I'm going to make a video about it. What happened was these soldiers were seeing things that you wouldn't see without these lenses, and the government actually made everything top secret and banned the devices and removed the patents from public information. And yeah, it's really interesting. Like, they could see stuff that we can't see with our eyes. You know what I mean?
And but to see the little models of the free energy machines using just copper coils and tubes with mercury in them, that was cool, man.
Yep.
This seems too easy. That just wow.
And did you know in the Indian, the natural path medicine, they had over 350,000 different uses for mercury, red mercury.
Right.
And healing.
350,000. Well, that one of those videos that I watched, a guy wrote a book in the late 80s. What was the title of it? Something about they're gonna poison you with a syringe or something. It was just a crazy kind of title. But the guy went over everything we've all learned about homeopathic medicine, and in the late 1800s, when the Rothschilds and the J.P. Morgans and all of them, and the Rothschilds took over and started all the medical schools and started the pharmaceutical industry. And he talked real good about how they took all the natural healing remedies off of the market and made them healthy.
And then they had to teach everyone not to do that and to go their way. That's why they did all the universities and everything. But what they've done is really set humanity back. Like, we're not evolving, we're devolving. We're not moving forward, we're going backwards.
Well, with the way all that happened, still just in my mind, just explains the devil loose so well, is that we're going along and you see the golden age and you see all the amazing things happen, and then bam, from there on, everything becomes war and poisoning and death. I mean, it just builds and builds and builds from there. And it's just, it's getting even worse here every day now. It's never slowed down.
Nothing new under the sun, is there? It's all, just regurgitated sort of stuff.
And the hierarchy they're setting up with tech and money is just, to me, wow, pretty simple. That's Gog and Magog, because there's nothing you can do anymore without money or technology. You have to have them both.
Yep. And it all started in 1666 with the birth certificate. You can't buy, trade, or sell with the birth certificate. That's where we're marked. I think that's the mark of the beast, is that financial system, the debt. Australia just had their budget thing with all this stuff that's going on. 280 billion in debt.
Yeah, and that's nothing, man.
10 years ago, we were 22 billion in credit, and they had to spend it because of the financial crisis. They gave everyone $1,000, and then a few weeks later, they gave them another payment, and that saved us from a recession. And they're saying they shouldn't have given the money to all these businesses, and they should have given it to the people like they did 10 years ago and spend it on the economy, because people go out and spend it. There's people getting money for businesses that should have shut down. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's only the government subsidy that's keeping them going. And anything that the government subsidizes, like, I don't know about over there, but here in Australia with the farms and the dairy farms and all that kind of stuff, every time the government, even the cars with the Ford and the Holden plant, every time they subsidize something that goes on for a couple of years, And that gets to the point where the company relies on that government subsidy so much that they can't function without it.
Oh,
So
sure.
they have to do exactly as the government tells them. And if they don't, no more funding and they shut down, you know, like Qantas. I don't get why Qantas is getting millions of dollars a year off the government, you know, for these JobKeeper payments when they've got profits and everything. We keep propping them up. I don't get why we do it. And every time they subsidize an industry, it ruins it. You know, they ruin the dairy, they ruin the farming. They ruined everything. They deregulate, like they deregulated the power in '98.
Well, Ellie, you just answered your own question. Why do they get involved? So they can control them down the line. Why all those years did they subsidize Qantas? Because when it comes to it, Qantas is going to do what they want. You know, what the government tells them to do. Qantas is not going to be able to function on their own. You know, it's just part of the system. The government, they've done this so well, especially here in America, is saying, hey, corporate is separate from politics, man. Y'all are business. But when you have all your people running those businesses, they're going to do your bidding. And when you see these companies with 10, 20,000 employees going, yeah, here's the memo, everybody gets in line, or sorry. And they can do without those people because those people don't do a whole lot, right?
Yeah,
you know, all those people forwarding emails and answering, you know, emails all day to no avail, they can do without you.
Yep. Well, for each employee in the public service, right? For each employee, like for every 2 people, there is a manager. Can you believe that?
Right.
A manager for every 2 people in the public service. We don't need this many in the system. No, sorry, go on.
No, it's compartmentalization. You know, they do it at every level. When the lowest level guy has a manager right over him, and then that manager, he has one right over him, they keep you in line pretty good. And keep you the threat of losing your job for not following policy is a real threat. It's real. It happens every day to people, and it all comes down to policy.
Yeah, well, sadly, you know, like I said to the young kid at Subway yesterday, the government, they are doing all the government's dirty work by making them enforce all these mask things and the check-ins and everything else like that. And I said, you're playing your part. You think you're helping, but you're actually hindering it. You know, I said, you're young. Think about your children you've yet to have. Do you want them to live a life like this after you've lived your life this way? Oh,
right.
no. You know, he's, how can we get around it? I said, well, it's quite simple. You know, protesting isn't going to get you anywhere. You're not going to get anywhere. The only way you're going to get through it is when you go to vote, because we have to vote. If you don't vote, you get fined. Make those votes invalid. If everyone made their votes invalid, the Governor General would have to sack the whole government, call them incompetent like they did in the 70s. And then
but wait a minute. Y'all passed a law. Y'all have a law that says you have to vote or you get fined.
Yes. Yep. If you do not vote, you get fined, and they're pretty strict about it. Yeah.
Well, the Democrats would love that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been in place for a long time. Like even like my whole life. Like I think it came in the 60s or maybe after the World War II. But I think they did that because people weren't voting. They didn't want to vote, you know, because I mean, I personally don't believe when we vote, I don't believe we elect them. They're selected, you know, like you see people that get in and, you know, they come from nowhere.
I think it ought all be local. I think everything should be run local. You know, what's your community, you pick your leaders and y'all do what y'all do and leave us alone. This whole nationalization of the states coordinating together, I think that was one of the biggest downturns. Let each do their thing and let each community do their thing. And, you know, if you don't like it, you know, you can go somewhere else.
Well, apparently the way they want to have this one world system is just to have a local government and get rid of the state governments. And then, you have a smaller federal government that does sort of, you know, all the paperwork. Yeah. But that's the way they're trying to set it up. But we've had a lot of corruption in the local governments. And see, in our constitution, there's not supposed to be any local council, local government. There's not supposed to be any. It's illegal. And, you know, I said something to a friend today. I said, you know, no one cared about the Aboriginals when they were getting rounded up and shot. And, you know, and that was in the 70s. That stuff was still going on in the 70s. They were still rounding people up, taking them from their homes and shooting ones that run off, and that it wasn't that long ago, you know. And if you think they're not going to do it to you, you're a fool. You're a fool, you know. It's coming, mate. I think as soon as these camps are built, I think that's when the shit's really going to hit the fan, and the ones that aren't vaccinated are going to be locked up because we're a danger to the public, you know. That's what they're going to say.
But did you see the video? It had to be shared on a link to Rumble, where the girl's reading the CDC's whole plan for the pandemic about separating high risk and low risk people, separating families. Gonna have to set up camps. There's gonna be green zones. There's gonna be you may have to swap your home with someone. I mean, the whole thing, as she read through it, is just so contradictory and so just ridiculous, And in the end, the whole message is basically, look, you know, there's going to be people not complying, not listening. We're going to have to do something about it.
Yep.
We're going to have to do something with those people. And that's us, man. They're coming after us. And it's gone from testing, the big theme, testing, you know, so many positive tests today, hospitalizations, you know, they've gotten away from that. And now we're just going after the unvaxxed. It's the number of unvaxxed now.
Well, see, they don't even test the ones that have been vaccinated. They don't test them here.
Yeah, they're not.
You don't have to go and get a test. Yeah.
Yeah,
and they're still using those silly PCR tests. They're still using those.
Yeah, they're not really pushing testing over here much anymore. You don't hear anything about it.
Oh,
it's all
you know, there's been so many deaths. You know, every night on the news, there was 7 deaths, and 5 of them were this, and you know, 5 of them were double dose. 1 had 1 dose, and 1 was unvaccinated. You know, every report that we are hearing, it's all from the vaccinated people. There was a nurse that was on Channel 9 News last night. She said she's not taking the vaccine. She can't show identity, but she said she feels bad that I've given all these people these jabberoos, and she said now they've got heart problems, they're having strokes, they've got you know, seizures happening all the time. They got no quality of life. They're begging to die. And I think that's why the government's pushed through these euthanasia laws. So if you've been injured by the vaccine, they'll let you die. I think that's why they pushed them through so quickly as well.
Over here, we're not hearing any stories about people that are vaccinated and having side effects. We're not hearing them. You don't see them. Whether it's hospitalizations of the vaccinated, you're only hearing the numbers about unvaccinated.
That's what they were talking about in this hearing today at the Supreme Court in New South Wales. They said that's all we hear about. We don't hear about people that have healed. We don't hear about, you know, this and that. And we're not hearing about people that are injured. And the doctors are not even reporting the injuries because they can't report it if it's a certain amount of time. They're not allowed to write it down because it'll look bad. It'll make the statistics look bad. So they're not even reporting. And then this is what the judges were saying. The judges were saying this has got to stop. You know, like this medical appetite is this got to stop. It's, you know, and like I was saying before, the only way we can stop this is to boycott all the companies that are supporting it.
Well, and you know what's crazy is they're not giving anybody, as far as I've seen anywhere, the numbers of the unvaccinated that have immunity now. What's the number of natural immunity now of these people? Are you not doing antibody tests on people? You know, let's get that number out. They don't want to know that.
Yeah, once you had the jab here, they don't do any more testing or anything like that. You know, I think the lady was saying, you know, like she could see it clear as day that the vaccinated ones are the ones that are spreading it, you know, and she said she can't be a part of it anymore. She's got a conscience and she doesn't want to live with it, you know.
and like, you know, like my wife's job, you know, it's from the top. It's the pressures from the top saying, you know, they even, she was under a secret mandate to take the vaccine. And when I busted them on it, she almost got fired.
Yeah, well, they had a lady that went through the courts yesterday. In I think it was 2014, 15, 16, she was made to have the flu shot at work. And then one of these years she had a reaction. And after that, she didn't have it. And she had another 3 years without having it. And the company didn't have a problem with it. They, you know, didn't sack her. And this year they said she's got to have the jab. If she doesn't, she'll be sacked. So she took it to the Fair Work Commission for unfair dismissal. And they agreed with the sacking, saying, oh, she's in the medical industry with that. She needs to have it for protection. And they go, oh, but the way they're doing it, you know, they're saying it's not mandatory, but they make it so you can't do it. You know, if you don't,
we're not going to fire you, but you can't work. And
yeah.
That's where it all comes back to policy.
Yeah.
You know, hey, we're not going to fire you, but you're not following policy. There's nothing we can do.
And see, these policies, like these businesses have their policies and that, they're not law. They're just policies, you know. So how can their policy trump constitutional laws? How?
Corporate. You work
and
for
see, even the lawyers have been, you know, there's a couple of lawyers starting to speak up now because it's going to affect them. But, you know, even the legal fraternity, they've been quiet on this. There's only a couple of that are really helping people. And the ones that do say they're going to help people get ridiculed in the media big time, you know. They just run you down. They call you anti-vax. They call you this. And they found out that most of the anti-vaxxers, you know, they're calling stupid and everything, are the people in the medical industry and the police force. They're in the public service. And, you know, the media are calling them idiots and, you know, all these kind of derogatory, mean names. And yet they are the most qualified people to have an understanding on what it is.
Well, the funny thing for me, all through my career in the medical field, it wasn't till the late 90s when they really started pushing on higher a lot more immunizations. There'd always been TB. There'd always been, you know, a few different ones, DDP, all that. And then, man, all of a sudden I was doing contract work and they're like, well, you're going to have, you know, all these vaccines. You're going to have to start hepatitis A and B and all that. And I'm not doing any of that. And they're like, well, here's the bare minimum you have to work at these facilities. And it was those hospitals' policy. And I said, well, I'm not taking any vaccines. You can draw some blood and do titers on me and see what I am immune to. And we'll go from there.
Yeah.
I did all the titers and I was within limits on all my titers. So I didn't have to take any additional injections. But as I went along, it was getting harder and harder, and they were starting to mandate hepatitis A and B vaccine. There, you know, the flu shot. They were starting to mandate every single one of those on contract before, you know. And every one of them I went under. I was like, look, I'm not doing anything like that, you know. And a few of them said, no, then don't come. We don't want you. If you're not willing to follow all the policies, we don't want you. And then others were like, okay, because your contract will let you. We'll let you.
Well, it shouldn't really affect them because you're contracted, like your workplace health and safety would all go to you. It's not to them, you know. If you're a subcontractor, it wouldn't affect them. It's just
but even you know, my argument was always, look, you know, I don't work in the general population. I work in surgery, and each individual patient I deal with, you know, I create a sterile environment, you know, to work within, and so it shouldn't really matter for us people in surgery and stuff, because, you know, the patient's blood and body fluids are contained, their respirations are contained, everything's contained. And so nowadays I couldn't go work anywhere. They would insist that I have every vaccination possible.
And what's sad is we're losing people that had wisdom, education, knowledge, people that have the know-how that can train all these younger generations. They're walking away, mate. There's so many, like the nurses, you know, you're seeing nurses with 30, 40 years of experience just walking away.
Right.
And you're going to have these young ones in that don't know anything, learning out of a textbook. Oh, it's just,
Well, anymore, me and Kathy have talked anymore. Healthcare is not about the patient.
Oh, it's corporate now, about earning money for the you know, the shareholders and everything like that. It's not about the patients. Yeah,
it's not about the patients anymore. They're just a barcode. And I noticed that when It was early 2000s when they started putting barcodes on all the patients, and the nurses just, stop. I gotta stop. Where's your bracelet? Blink. Get the gun out, put the barcode before they do anything. We're not going to take you back to surgery. We're not going to do anything till we hit that barcode first. And it was same with anesthesia and everybody. Did you get your charges? No. Here, scan the barcode for them. And that's all it's about anymore. Did you get all your charges in? I don't know how many times I heard nurses in the morning meetings being scolded over, guys, you got to get all your charges in. You got to get your charges right.
Yeah.
We're trying to save lives, and all management's worried about is making sure you get charged for everything possible.
Yeah,
and
I mean, I don't know about
crazy.
over there, but you can't even get life insurance here, or income insurance, or health insurance. They stopped taking on new policies in March this year.
Wow. My youngest daughter, Madison, I bought her a life insurance annuity when she's about 12 years old. So it's been close to 15 years now. And I got a letter yesterday saying the interest rate went down from 2.25% down to 2%, and it may go down more in the future. Mm-hmm. And no explanation, just it's going down. Your interest rate is going down. You're not going to.
What's the interest rate in America at the moment?
Oh, geez, like a CD, you can't. Like if I went and got a CD, I couldn't get more than 1%.
Oh, really?
Two, if I do over $100,000, I may get 2%.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I had a CD for a couple of years, and it was useless. It was worthless. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't get a half %. And I remember back my dad in the 70s. He'd put $5,000 in a CD, and 2 years later he'd have $15,000.
Yeah, well, my mum was a bit dirty because she's a self-funded retiree, and like when all this about 10 years ago, when all this financial stuff happened, they went from 15%, 16% on their term deposits down to like 4% sort of overnight, and now it's lower than that. She's just not making any money to live off. It's just
right. It's all by design.
Yeah, well, I think it's to get the middle income earners, do you know what I mean? Make them sort of lose everything so they become dependent on the government, because they're the ones that don't rely on the government, and the government wants everyone to rely on them.
Right. They've already got the lower echelons. Now they just us, and they'll run everything.
There was a bit of a uproar the other week, about all these big companies telling the government and everything what to do, and yet they don't pay tax. Why are we listening to all these corporations like Apple, Microsoft, and having them tell us what to do when they don't pay tax?
Well, they get their tax abatements because they're doing so much good.
Yeah.
Well, that's so true. We've been talking about frequency on here for a long time. And there was I watched part of a video yesterday where this scientist, a researcher, the guy saying, look, going forward, people are going to be completely programmable. You're going to, the technology's here that if you think you're the one that's deciding you want to go to this store and buy these things, you're wrong. It's not you thinking it. And I'm just sitting there going, wow, really? Keep talking. And the guy's just talking about how, we know about MK Ultra. We know about.
Oh, I know it's happening. Like you go to, I don't know about other people, but I go to look for something on the internet, and sometimes I'm just thinking about it and it just shows up, and it's so freaky when it happens. You don't say the word, but you're just thinking it, and you go to type the word in and the word shows up.
Right.
And it's so freaky when that happens.
Well,
it's happened a few times.
I told Alan about a month ago on my iPad, the kids several years ago had downloaded a few games, right? These match 3 games. And I noticed sitting there playing one of these games one night, and I thought, geez, and then just thinking this to myself, if I don't win this next time, I'm closing it and I'm going to go to sleep. Well, I hadn't had it even close to winning the game. And then, bam, I win. And I'm like, okay. And so I'm thinking, okay, if I keep winning, thinking this on purpose now, if I win this next one, I'll play another one. But if I lose once, I'm quitting. I would
Yep.
win 6 in a row. I mean, it was boom, 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 boom. Then I started thinking, okay, next time I play this, I'm going to do the same thing. So I kept doing the same thing. And I'm telling you, every single time I sit there and thought purposely, I'm going to quit if I don't win this time. I would win every time.
Yeah.
Without doubt, every single time. And I started telling Alan about that. I said, man, this thing knows what I'm thinking.
It sort of means the minority report sort of is here, it's sort of,
Yeah.
I think they've had that tech since the 70s, to be honest. They've had this sort of tech.
Who knows? Who knows how long they've been using it on us? It's one of those deals where we know enough about frequency and vibration and all that to know that, yeah, I'm sure they can do that.
Well, you look at when like radars and microwaves came in, it was when that other one pandemic happened. And then in the 60s is when they brought in the 1G with the mobile phones, all the different radars and microwaves. Every time, like the first one was when they had electricity installed. Dirty electricity radiation isn't good for your body. And generally these sort of colds and that is where your body's expelling all the bad toxins, like your chicken pox that you have as a kid. It's basically your body just getting rid of all the toxins in it. And now we stop the body from doing it. Same as shingles, you have it again as an adult. It's the body getting rid of toxins. We're stopping all of this.
Right. And what's so sad for me is that we had the system in place of homeopathic medicine. We had the system in place of trade, and our currency was pretty good. It wasn't great, but it worked. Everything worked, and people were happy with it. And then just the devil's loosed, and bam, they go, no more tinctures, no more ointments made out of dandelions. You can't do that. You can kill people.
Yeah, because the pharmaceutical companies aren't making the money,
Yeah, that was one of the themes of the mineral wells community and their water there, that the FDA came in the 30s. Same with marijuana. They did it to this water in mineral wells, said you can't make any claims on it. You can't say it has healing effects. You can't say it has any curative properties. You can't do that. And they've been doing it forever. Like one of the videos we watched, this original guy who started it, he was selling this water for 5 cents a cup. Okay, this is back in the 1800s, 5 cents a cup, and today's money, that's $90 a cup.
Jeez.
And people were paying it. People were paying a nickel a cup because it healed.
Yeah. But you see how our water is today, like that video I showed everyone where they put the electrodes in and let it spin. The water goes black, it's just, and our body being an electrical body, if it's got all those toxins in it, it's going to attract to our organs and all that kind of stuff. And like since the 50s, everything has just changed. You know what I mean? Like 50s, 60s, around there is when they really kicked off with bringing in the one world government. You know what I mean? They got rid of the major king and queens and all those, the royalties. And then they started all the other countries that, wanted to be a part. They helped them. And the ones that don't want to be a part, they went to war.
Right. Alan and I posed a question yesterday. During Armageddon, when a third of the animals and a third of the stars all were wiped out, what was wiped out? If you think about it, what we have now, right, as far as animals and our constellations and everything, we know a third of them were wiped out. Wow. What were those? Were those some of the fossils they find now? What were they?
Yeah, that makes you think, hey,
what more was here that, when you look at the, John Levy does real good on his videos of the old Antiquitech and the structures. You just know those people didn't do it. They just know. They had no need for it. They could barely build a wooden shack. Number one, they had no need. Number two, they didn't have the means.
Yeah, well, horse and cart and steam power. Come on, the manpower. There's no way they would have had that many skilled laborers to do that kind of stuff. They're just, and the manpower, the technology is just, but yet when you talk to people about it, they go, oh, of course they built it, just that's what it says in the history book, and people are so programmed, like They see it on TV, they believe it. Like my mum again the other day, she got upset because my stepdad's auntie came and visit and brought the cousin with him. The cousin and the auntie weren't vaccinated, and she was bitching that they weren't vaccinated and they weren't wearing a mask. And so I said, but hang on, did you wear a mask? She goes, yeah. We don't have to, but I did. I said, are you vaccinated? She says, yeah. And I said, well, what are you worried about? She said, oh, but I can still get it. I said, but why did you get vaccinated then?
If you can still get it. Well, I won't get as sick. That's their thing now. Well, I won't get as sick. I won't die now.
Yeah.
What?
And then she was carrying on like that. And I said, well, she said, oh, when am I going to go and visit her next? And I said, well, I don't know if I am going to come and visit, because you're speaking about your cousin and auntie like this. He's going to bitch about me coming because I'm not vaccinated. You're going to bitch about your grandson, and I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. And she's telling me I've got to do it, this and that. And it's actually starting to cause a lot of division amongst all families, I've noticed. It's not just my family. And then the last few days, my father, I'm really worried about him. He's got pain in his leg and he won't go to the hospital. I keep saying, Dad, go to the hospital. No, it should be right. Like the last 3 days he's been in bed with pain. He doesn't want to put pressure on the system because they're already ramping, like having people in the back out in ambulance vehicles because there's not enough beds in the hospitals.
Well, you better hope he doesn't have a DVT.
Well, I said to him, I said, I think you have a quad. I said, I'll come and take you up to the hospital. And he goes, no. He just wants to die. I've tried getting it through his head. I rang my brother up tonight and I told my brother, I said, you need to keep an eye on Dad. And I said, he really should have been at the hospital 2 days ago. I said, this shouldn't go on like this. And he said, I know, I've tried talking to him. He just won't go. And he said, what can I do? I said, call an ambulance, because they would have to do something. Whether he wants to or not, they would have to intervene. If he says, no, I want to die, then they can go mental and lock him up and do it against his will. And they can.
If they roll up on him and they see he's got a potential DVT in his leg, they'll have to do something.
Exactly. And that's what I said to my brother. I said, he's suffering. Don't let him suffer. It's just ridiculous. And it's just, it's hard. I mean, he's sick of it. He can see where the world's going.
Sure.
And he doesn't want to be here. I can understand that. But, punishing himself like that, and it's not fair. It's.
Well, that's the fear that they've instilled in us.
But he sort of knows a lot, but he still believes the shit. I said, like, at the start, he was against the vaxxers because he knows what's in them and what they do. But because of the pressure, from people at church pressuring him,
sure.
They were saying at church, if you're not vaxxed, you can't come in and this and that. And I said, well, don't go. Watch it online.
What kind of faith is that?
Yeah. I couldn't believe it. Like, yeah.
That was one of my first things about churches closing down. I'm like, oh my God, do you have any faith at all? You have none. You have none whatsoever. If your first inclination is, oh yeah, we'll listen to the health department, we're shutting down. Then your faith wasn't there.
I stopped listening to churches and going to churches years ago when they didn't help me. And then when I saw stuff going on in the church, I reported it, but no one believed me. Sure. That young girls were getting abused. No one believed me. And it happened again, and another young girl got abused. And that young girl didn't have to go through it. She could have not gone through it if they had spoken up and kicked that person out. And it seems to be every church I go to, there is particular groups. Do you know what I mean? They get in their little groups and yeah, and if you're not in that group, that's it. And then they just want money, money. We got this coming up. Every time I go, it's, well, we need donations for this and we need donations for that. But you don't see the money going to it. I mean, the latest one is with Dad's church is the pastors have got all brand new cars. They paid cash for them. They should have put that money into the youth group, which was what they said they were going to do. But no, they went and bought cars.
Well, when I found out that most preachers since the mid 90s, end of the 90s, didn't sit down and write out their sermons each week, that they just went to a website and picked a theme and clicked and printed out a sermon. When I found that out, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
What does this come to?
Yeah, well, I know a few pastors that have been told that they can't talk about certain topics. Like, they've literally been told if they talk about them, they will lose their job. Someone else will come and step in and, you know, the church will get in trouble from the local council and the government and everything else like that. There's certain things that they can't do. And do you know what? Did you see the video I made about the Pope telling people not to believe in Jesus? That Jesus, did you see that one? He's telling people. I don't know if you've seen it, but in the Hillsong music, when they're singing about Lucifer. They're singing to Lucifer. I pulled my daughter up on it because my daughter was listening to Hillsong music. And I said, did you actually listen to those words? And she said, oh, there's a few I can't quite hear or understand. And I listened to it again and I told her, I said, this is about Satan. It's not about, you know, Jesus beating it. It's about them praising Satan.
Right.
And she was shocked. And I said, well, what other music do they play in there? You know, but this is what they're doing. And the young kids are eating it up. And rock and roll music, you talk about vibrations. Like, I even stopped playing music when I found out what music is. Music is one of the biggest spellcasters with frequencies and everything. You can affect a person's mood by music, you know? Like, music is like a universal language. I
don't know how much South Park you watch, but South Park does a real good job on pointing stuff like that out. They have an episode where for all the kids, they start a boy band, a Christian boy band, and they're like, well, we don't know how to write Christian music. They're like, it doesn't matter. You just take any song, and where it says somebody's name or the theme, you just put Jesus in. And that's what they did, and they sold 1 million albums, and they were the biggest, hottest thing out there. Yeah. And when you listen to the songs they picked, it's sexualized songs. And instead of saying, oh, my baby or Lisa in the song, they say Jesus. And it's just gross. But that's what they do.
Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
Flashy. It's all adrenaline rush and pumping up these young kids and saying this is Christian music. But the theme is not God. It's materialism most of the time.
See, I went and saw that Billy Graham's son not long after he died. His son was on tour around Australia, and we went and saw him, and what he was saying about the whole society with allowing abortions and gay marriages and all this. It's opening up the doorway for things that we have no comprehension of. You know, he said it'll go back to the days of the old before the flood very fast, and we won't know how we got there or how we're going to get out, you know, like.
Well, we know what's coming, but everybody else, they're waiting on the tribulation.
Oh, that's what Dad and I had the fight about on my birthday. Like, he came up for my birthday and we were talking, and we had a fight, you know, and I haven't fought with Dad for a long time. And it's just like, Dad, don't you see it? You know a lot of things that are going on. He's just like, I don't care anymore. I just want to go home. But I'm like, Dad, you're not listening. The tribulation has been and done.
Yeah,
you know, what part are we up to now that's done? And he's like, but it can't be. I think it's he doesn't want to accept that he's been tricked. Do you know what I mean? Like,
my parents are the same way. My brother is too. When I was there and was talking to him about it a little bit, they're so confused. They don't understand. No way. Christ does not come back. We would know. And I'm like, you gotta read the Bible. It says the devil's loose to deceive the nations once more for a short season. Dude, you're being deceived in the short season. No. They're like, if Christ had come back, we would know it. How? How do you figure? Well, how do
you know that you haven't met Christ or an angel? How do you know? You wouldn't know. Wouldn't know.
I know, definitely after researching the word saint and stuff with Alan, and that's what I definitely think we were entertaining saints all the time. We just don't understand, you know, what a saint is or the function of the word saint.
They influence our lives a lot, apparently.
Right there. And one of the questions I asked Alan yesterday was when in biblical history did the angels fall? Because Satan is there in Eden. When did they fall? And are they still functional? Did they cease to operate? I'm sure they did during the millennial reign, but Were they loosed again with the devil? I don't know.
I believe they're still here.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're immortal, you know, like they were binded and whatnot, but I still feel we are being influenced by the old watchers, like the old ones, as they would say. But I don't think they show themselves like they used to. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Right. I would hope. We were talking a little bit about guardian angels. Do we all still have one? Do we have?
I believe so. Yeah.
And can we invoke that guardian angel? Can we speak to it or send vibrations?
I believe I have. When I was in hospital not long ago with my cat bite, I was praying with my daughter and my son, begging, and my son can't explain it, but yeah, something happened, and because I was in a hell of a lot of pain,
Right.
And it was like they were wanting to put me into surgery the next day and everything, and I didn't want to go in. I don't handle general anesthetics too well, and I was told last time I had a general, because I didn't come out of it really good at all, and my mum is the same. They basically said I have a good chance of not coming out of it. I'll just slip into a coma. So
Right.
I try not to have a general if I can. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't. Everything I've ever had, any procedure I've ever had, I've been able to get an epidural or a block. I haven't gone under.
I won't have another epidural. When they did an epidural on my back, they hit the nerves and did damage as they pulled it out. Yeah. I get consistent throbbing in winter now.
I know your pain, sister. I feel for you. Well, we went an hour and 26 minutes already. Yeah. Doesn't it fly when you're having fun?
It does. It does. It's only been like 10, 15 minutes to me, it feels like.
Right. The state of the world today, without your faith and without good vibrations, wow, I just can't imagine what it'd be like.
I'm actually noticing people that are not Christians, when I say I pray that your vibrations will be raised, they're not aggressive or anything like that. They actually starting thank you and what do you mean by that? And I'm like, well, you're an empty vessel. You don't have anyone guiding you or helping you. I just pray for a barrier of protection around you and raise your vibrations from this low frequency hum. And that's what it is. Everyone is trapped in a low frequency of fear.
Right. And from everything we know the delta waves, the lowest frequency wave, puts your mind in a vegetative almost state. And they can get you there. They can influence you. And oh my gosh, I can't hardly watch any TV. Every commercial is propaganda. Every TV show, boom, boom, they're just throwing it out there at you. I
haven't watched television in years, mate. And even some of the, like Netflix, I watched some of it with my boy, but Netflix was actually created by like a rich family in America, and they're full on Satanist. Like I can't, like I'm sure they flash a lot of subliminal images on that show.
Well,
they do.
If you haven't read the research and stuff on the guy who founded Hulu, that's crazy.
I've seen their ads, their advertising where they got reptilians and all that kind of stuff in it, and it's like they're just laughing at us, mocking us, telling us the truth, and we're thinking it's all make believe.
Hulu is because the guy who founded Hulu back in the 70s started getting patents on mind control devices.
Yep.
And he, over like a 6-year period, he went in to get one, and it took over a year to get it. And then he got his first one. Then he got his second one within 6 months. Then he got like 10 within a year. And he had invented all these things, had all these patents, and then he shut down that company and started Hulu. And he uses all that mind control technology in every program on Hulu.
See, this could be why certain countries ban and block certain shows too.
Yeah, and it's right there. It's right there. It says it in the patents what it's for. And in their commercials, the guy decoded it early on about their commercials. Every time they mock and they laugh, oh, they say this is run by aliens. you know, and a snake comes out of his jacket or something, you know, they tell you, you know, whatever, you just have to watch and see. And so, yeah, look at that history of the guy who started Hulu.
Yeah,
That
I
is
will do.
creepy. That's why
Hey,
it's free.
did you guys hear about the rocket up here in the East Coast the other day? Monday night, or it might have been Sunday night. There was this strange thing up in the sky, and people thought, oh, it might have been a plane. No, it's not a plane. What is it? And drone? No, it's not a drone. It was actually a rocket missile that the Chinese were testing, and I don't think it would just be the Chinese. I think the Australians have been testing out in the desert. But the rocket, because the Chinese used to test rockets all the time out in the desert here in Australia. Like, everyone thinks that, you know, they're against each other and this and that. They're not. People have got to realize that all the countries in the world, all the leaders are pretty much got each other's number and you know, friends. You know, there's none of this rhetoric of hating each other and that. It's all a show, you know. Like, so don't fear about what's going to happen. What's going to happen must happen. We need to. I know it's hard. A lot of people are going to suffer, and people are begging for Jesus to come back. And Jesus says, woe to those who beg for my return. Do you not realize the demise that it's going to be for those people? And we know we're almost at the end then. So we just got to keep praying for all these people that can't see. To me, I mean, every day I'm throwing out prayers to people I don't know, you know, giving away my energy because these people need it, you know.
Right. And, you know, these days anymore, we get a couple of different things. We get the highly intellectual that come at people from way above with too big of words and all these, you know, complicated things. Yeah. And then there's people like us that just go, hey, look around. You know, and we can't get a foothold. We can't get a foothold. You know, the intellect, the white coat bias wins out every time. No matter if they're telling truth or not, they always win.
Yeah, you know? Because they got control by it, you know.
You know,
like,
my daughter the other day, I've been making fresh juice and stuff, and said, you know, this is going to help you with a lot of stuff. Well, what are you, a doctor? I said, oh no, you don't have to be a doctor to understand that fresh fruits and vegetables are better for you. You don't, but that's the mentality these days. People immediately, what are you, a doctor? No, I'm just smart enough to understand.
I should have listened to my parents and grandparents better. You know, like if I had listened, my life would be a lot different. But then again, I wouldn't be where I'm at now. Do you know what I mean? If I had listened, I'd probably do just like my brothers, living in a nice house, nice job, you know, all that kind of stuff, in debt, you know, trying to keep up with the Joneses. Whereas I'm happy with what I've got. I've got my children, you know, I've got the Lord, and that's the only relationship I need with anyone, you know.
Right. I was starting to feel kind of guilty about backing away from relationships, but then I thought, well, are they even healthy? You know, do you want healthy ones or not? No, put them in the front yard. Put them out the front. Y'all go with mama. Everybody go outside and potty. Go.
I think sometimes you got to let people be. Some people are too toxic, and you know, you pick up on their shit, and that drags you down. And sometimes those people, you got to let them go. But for the people that are, you know, sort of half there on the fence, and that you really should, I try to help them. And, you know, I know it's time consuming and it drains you, but at least I can say I gave it a go. I had a try, you know.
Right. I mean, I'm willing to give them what I know and let them take it from there, but I've quit trying to convince. I just give them the information and walk away.
Yeah.
Do with it what you will, because, you know, I'm not going to be called an idiot and told I'm dumb and I don't understand. Just do your own research, read what's out there, watch what's out there. And yeah, I let them out there. Well, guys, it looks like I gotta go. Everybody's up. I gotta go walk the dogs.
So, hello.
Yep, Kathy Ella says hello.
Hi, Kathy.
Everybody's all good. All right, guys. Love you all.
You have a good night, and I'll say goodbye to everyone in the chat. Thanks, everyone in the chat. It's great to see you all, and I'll keep you all in my prayers.
Yeah, guys. Thanks a lot. Love you all. Good night.
Bye.
Good morning.